At my mom's funeral, I discovered a secret $15 million inheritance, but I couldn't tell Dad. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick. My chest felt tight. Tears streaming down my face, I clutched the edge of the casket. My mom. Gone. Forever. Her absence was a gaping hole in my heart. Pain seeped into every part of me, drowning my thoughts. As mourners whispered soft condolences, I barely heard them. Their faces blurred into a backdrop of sorrow. My dad stood alone, a stoic figure shrouded in grief. He looked lost, as if the world had dimmed. I wanted to reach out, comfort him, but I was paralyzed by my own pain. In this moment, everything felt surreal, like a nightmare I couldn't wake from, and then, there was the letter. It was wedged in the folds of Mom's favorite blue blazer, the one she wore when she wanted to feel special. I found it while sorting through her things later that day, my hands trembling. The envelope was old, yellowed with time, addressed in her graceful handwriting. It felt like a ghost reaching out from the past. My heart raced as I tore it open. Inside, a document shimmered under the dim light, a legal paper that spoke of trusts and inheritances. A staggering $15 million. I could hardly breathe. My head spun. I blinked, trying to make sense of the words swimming before my eyes. It mentioned accounts, properties, and secrets. Why did she keep this from Dad? Why now? I could feel the weight of the world on my shoulders. My stomach churned. If I told him, would it heal his heart or shatter our family? Questions loomed large, dark clouds gathering in my head. But I also knew that revealing this secret could turn everything upside down. I couldn't shake the sense of danger tinged with excitement. My fingers shook as I tried to fold the paper carefully back inside the envelope. Deep in my gut, I felt the pull of expectation, a blend of fear and hope. Would I be betraying my family by exploring this hidden fortune? I couldn't tell. Dottie wouldn't dare. Not yet. The church bells tolled softly in the distance, their sound reverberating through the quiet like an echo of our mourning. I could feel a chill creeping in. What other secrets had Mom kept? What was hidden beneath the surface of our lives? The room felt heavy with unspoken words, secrets waiting to seep into the air. Something was unraveling, and as I looked at the letter, I realized this was just the beginning. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The weight of the news sat heavily on my chest as I left the church, the cool air biting against my warm skin. My heart felt like it was caught in a vice, twisting and turning at the prospect of what I had just uncovered. $15 million. The mere thought sent a rush of conflicting emotions coursing through me. While the secret whispered promises of relief and opportunity, it also taunted me with the potential devastation it could wreak on my already fragile family. That I wandered the streets, aimlessly at first, until I found myself at the small cafe down the road. It was one of those places where the world felt shielded, and the heavy air of grief could be momentarily forgotten. Inside, the smell of freshly brewed coffee was warm and comforting, wrapping around me like a soft blanket. I ordered a tea and settled into a corner seat, grateful for the brief distraction. As I watched the barista expertly craft lattes and cappuccinos, I noticed a young couple at a nearby table. Their laughter bubbled over in the quiet space, a sound so foreign to me in that moment. It was like a haunting reminder that life continued elsewhere while mine felt suspended. I leaned in a little closer, wishing the laughter could fill the hollowness within just for a moment. Suddenly, a figure approached my table. It was the barista, a young woman with kind eyes and a bright smile. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for your loss," she said gently. The sincerity in her voice touched me, breaking through the barrier of my heart. I lost my mom last year, and I know how heavy the world can feel. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. That I blinked back tears, overwhelmed by the unexpected kindness. Thank you, I managed to whisper. It was the first time I felt a glimmer of connection with someone since the funeral, a small gesture, yet it reminded me that I was not entirely alone. With a shaky breath, I steered my thoughts back to the letter. Vowing to unravel the mystery hidden within those few pages, I returned home, each step marked by an uneasy anticipation. What had my mother known that made her conceal such a fortune? What was she protecting me from, or perhaps even from herself? The house felt colder than usual as I stepped inside, shadows loomed larger, and silence hung heavily. My father was in the living room, staring blankly at the wall. I hesitated at the threshold, his grief mirrored in my own turmoil. Dad? I called softly, unsure if I should interrupt his thoughts. He turned slowly, his eyes filled with a weariness that almost broke my heart. Yeah. He replied, his voice thick, hoarse from the sorrow lingering in the air. Do you need anything? I asked, even as the letter nagged at the back of my mind, urging me to reveal its contents, to confide in him. He shook his head, an expression of quiet resignation washing over him. I'm okay, just thinking. As I watched him, something inside me twisted. I couldn't be sure what the right thing to do was. The thought of his eyes lighting up with surprise, mixing joy and confusion if I shared the secret, danced dangerously close to the edge of my mind. What if it could heal our family? A sudden noisy crash from the kitchen startled me, breaking the tension. I rushed in to find the new dog, a lively golden retriever we had adopted a week before Mom's passing, had knocked over a stack of dishes. My heart swelled with a bittersweet warmth as I saw him wagging his tail, oblivious to the chaos. Zeus, you troublemaker. I laughed, the sound breaking through the fog of sadness. Kneeling down, I played with him for a moment, a small pocket of joy amidst the grief. As I tossed a dish into the sink, I noticed an envelope resting against the edge, unaddressed, yet bearing Mom's familiar handwriting. My breath hitched as I reached for it, feeling a sense of dread mixed with an exhilarating sense of discovery. Fingers trembling, I opened it and read the first word, son. The letter tugged at my heartstrings, hinting at yet another layer of life I didn't know existed. But as I continued to read, I felt a chill rise within me, as my worst fears formed a knot in my stomach. The last line burned into my conscience like a brand, altering the path of my life with electric intensity. If you're reading this, it means the one who knows the truth is gone, and I need you to protect it. In that instant, everything shifted. The weight of the inheritance paled in comparison to the revelation that toyed with my reality. My father wasn't the only one holding secrets. And the darkness enveloping my family only deepened as new questions arose. What truth did she need me to protect? And who was the one she'd been shielding us from all along? The quiet pall of the house wrapped around me like a shroud as I dropped the letter onto the kitchen table, unable to bear its weight against my palm any longer. Each word echoed in my mind like a refrain, a haunting reminder that I had been living in half-truths, layered beneath the veneer of my life. My heart raced, and unexpected anger surfaced towards my mother for not sharing the truth while she was alive. But beneath that anger was a profound sense of loss. She had always been my anchor, and now, in this swirl of chaos, I felt adrift. That I could hear my father moving restlessly in the adjoining room, the sound of his footsteps a constant thrum of despair. For a moment, I considered revealing the letter's contents, confronting him with what I had come to understand. But that fleeting impulse was swallowed by fear of igniting yet another rift between us. What if it shattered the fragile remnants of our family dynamic, already pulled taut by grief? Tension coiled in my chest, and I made a decision then and there. I would keep the letter hidden, intended to protect my father, perhaps more than myself. Clenching my jaw, I swiped the envelope from the table and tucked it into my back pocket. The weight felt somehow lighter within that secret space, though it left a residue of uncertainty. That in a bid to escape my spiraling thoughts, I took Zeus out for a walk. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow across the neighborhood, illuminating the way ahead with shades of pink and gold. As the cool breeze drifted through my hair, I found solace in the simplicity of the moment: the rustling leaves, the laughter of children playing in the park, the distant chatter of neighbors reeling from the harshness of life. Zeus bounded ahead, pulling at his leash, momentarily distracting me. I couldn't help but chuckle at his exuberance. Just the sight of him reminded me of life's occasional joy. It was as I strolled past the park that I caught sight of a familiar figure, a girl from my high school days, Mia, who had a penchant for kindness that stood out among our peers. She was standing at the park's edge, her head bowed, deep in thought. I hesitated, my heart a complicated mix of emotions as I considered whether to approach her. To connect with someone felt both comforting and terrifying, but the desire to share my burden began to outweigh my hesitations. "Hey, Mia," I called, taking a tentative step closer. She looked up, surprise flashing across her face before transitioning into a warm smile. "Hey. It's been a while. How have you been?" That spark of genuine concern softened the edges of my anxiety, and I offered a slight smile back. "That I could use some, I don't know, company, I guess," I admitted, releasing the tension in my shoulders as we began to walk together. "It's just been a rough couple of weeks," she nodded, her expression shifting to something more serious. "I'm really sorry to hear that. If you ever want to talk, I'm here." There was something incredibly healing about her words. It felt good to share even a fraction of my burden with someone who seemed to care, and for a moment, I allowed myself to lean into that connection. We talked about trivial things, high school memories, shared friends, but gradually, the truth slipped through the cracks of our conversation. "I've been thinking about my mom a lot lately," I confessed, the words spilling out before I could stop them. "She passed away recently," her expression softened even further, drawing me into a warm embrace of understanding. "I'm so sorry. That's really hard." I could see the empathy blooming in her eyes, a reflection of my own grief mirrored back. "Yeah," I sighed, feeling surprisingly lighter. "It's just she left something behind, something I can't seem to wrap my head around." "What do you mean?" she asked, genuinely curious. The weight of my secret lingered between us, heavy but somehow more manageable. "I can't talk about it. Not yet." She nodded, wise beyond her years, and gently squeezed my arm. "That's okay. Just know you're not alone in this." Eventually, our conversation shifted to lighter topics, and as the evening waned, I felt a flicker of warmth growing inside me. But as I drove home, the knot of secrets constricted once more, reminding me of the shadows looming back at the house. I turned the radio down, lost in thought. Upon entering the house, still buzzing from my brief reprieve, I noticed the living room was eerily silent. My father was back in his chair, his face turned toward the TV, though he seemed miles away. I swallowed the urge to reach out to him, to draw him closer, but instead, I slipped into my room, the letter becoming an immovable weight against my heart. It was there, in the stillness of my own space, that I pulled out the letter again, ready to read it over. A sense of determination washed over me. Whatever the truth was, I wouldn't let it destroy us. I would keep it safe, but just as I was about to delve deeper, my phone buzzed repeatedly on the desk. A message came through, changing everything. Half expecting it to be a comforting note from Mia, I was instead confronted by an unexpected name that made my breath catch in disbelief. "Nathan, my mother's estranged brother, left a message. I know about her secret, and I need to talk to you." Chill cascaded down my spine as the gravity of the words sank in. What had my mother kept from even her own brother? My heart raced as I tried to absorb the weight of this new revelation. I couldn't just bury this. A fresh layer of conflict loomed on the horizon, one that might unearth even more hidden truths. The walls of my world felt like they were closing in. What new mysteries awaited me, and could I truly protect not just my family, but a legacy that seemed bound to unravel the very fabric of our lives? The cold light of dawn seeped through my curtains, dancing across the walls with an almost mocking cheerfulness. I lay in bed, my mind a tangled web of Nathan's words and what they signified. There was no resetting my heart, no unraveling the heavy thread of uncertainty that knotted itself tighter with each passing moment. I hadn't even considered that my mother, beneath her comforting presence and soft words, might have carried a world of secrets. As I stared at the ceiling, the ticking clock reminded me of the fleeting hours of a Saturday, a day I had once cherished as a time for leisure. Now it felt suffocating, a trap filled with the echoes of all I had yet to confront. My phone buzzed again, jarring me from my reverie. With a slow, deep breath, I picked it up. Another message from Nathan, please. We can't wait. That I threw the phone aside, every instinct urging against the idea of engaging with him. He was a ghost from my mother's past, a specter I'd never been prepared to meet, yet here I was, on the edge of something vast and frightening. That in an effort to escape the heavy intangible burden clinging to my chest, I decided to take Zeus out for a walk again. The early morning briskness filled my lungs, a refreshing counter to the weighty thoughts that had ensnared my mind. With each step, I felt a flickering hope that maybe, just maybe, I would find clarity beyond the boundaries of my home. As we passed the park, I spotted Mia sitting on a bench, sketching in a notebook, her brow furrowed in concentration. She looked up at the sight of me, and a gentle smile broke her serious demeanor. Hey! You're out early. That I needed some air, I said, forcing a smile as Zeus bounded toward her, eager for her attention. Mia knelt down, scratching behind his ears, her laughter breaking the stillness that surrounded us. What about you? Just trying to capture the beauty of this morning, she said brightly, glancing at her sketch. Want to take a look? Curiosity piqued, I moved closer. The page revealed a delicate scene, the sun rising over the park, painting the sky with soft oranges, yellows, and pinks. It somehow reminded me of the warmth of my mother's smile, a fleeting memory. Wow, that's amazing, I breathed, not able to hide the mix of admiration and longing in my voice. You should join me sometime, she suggested lightly. Art can be therapeutic, you know. It helps me process everything. I wanted to share my turmoil with her, to spill the secrets that were weighing me down, but I hesitated. I still hadn't even spoken to my father about my mother's death. How could I lay this burden at Mia's feet? Maybe, I finally replied, shifting the conversation away. We spent the next few moments chatting about art, school, and the familiar comfort of shared experiences. But even the laughter didn't free me from the reality looming behind my thoughts. Anything heavy on your mind? Mia asked suddenly, her eyes searching my face. A lump formed in my throat. It's just family stuff, I murmured, the words feeling inadequate to explain the chaos inside me. Mia's expression softened, and she leaned closer. You know, I lost my dad a few years ago. There was a lot I didn't understand, things left unsaid. If you need to talk, thank you, I cut in, swallowing the anger that rose up with memories of my mother's secrets. I appreciate it. I really do. But instead of offering solace, the mention of loss ignited a spark of fear in me. Would I, too, be left with unresolved questions? As the day wore on and the sun climbed higher, I found a quiet spot in my yard, hidden behind some overgrown hedges. My phone buzzed again, a new message from Nathan. Let's just meet. You deserve the truth. Part of me yearned to unravel the mystery. But as the shadows lengthened with the setting sun, another part realized the risk. The truth could shatter whatever fragile stability remained in my life. My heart raced, an urgent sound echoing painfully in the silence. I stared down at the letter, still hidden in my back pocket, and contemplated the double-edged sword of knowledge. Just then, Zeus barked, prompting me to glance over. My neighbor, Mrs. Eldridge, stood on her porch, her expression warm and inviting. Good morning. You've got a lovely dog there. Mind if I join you a moment? Of course, I replied, surprised by her kindness. The conversation drifted wonderfully, and I felt a warmth grow between us, like sunbeams easing their way through the morning fog. But inside, turmoil brewed as I absently rolled the letter between my fingers. The knowledge that could bring light to my darkness was also a potential catalyst for chaos. As dusk approached, I stiffened upon feeling my phone vibrate once more. Another message from Nathan. There's something you don't know about the inheritance. It's important. Please answer. His words struck me like a lightning bolt, igniting every fear I had tucked away. What could he possibly mean? The inheritance? Had my mother's past entwined with my future in ways I couldn't yet imagine? Just as I began to type my response, a new message arrived. I hope you're ready for the truth. It's time. All air exited my lungs as dread washed over me, leaving me breathless at the precipice of an inevitable confrontation. What lay ahead seemed both terrifying and inescapable, and I found myself standing at the edge of devastation, teetering amidst the shadows of family secrets. I was stuck, caught between comfort and chaos, and just as I steeled myself to confront the truth, I felt the weight of the world shift precariously beneath my feet. The evening shadows deepened as I clutched my phone, uncertainty swirling in my chest like a tempest. Nathan's urgent messages throbbed in my mind, demanding attention, demanding a response that felt like handing over the final piece of a puzzle I wasn't sure I wanted to complete. With trembling fingers, I set the phone down and took a long, steady breath, trying to ground myself in the present instead of succumbing to the chaos waiting on the other side of that screen. Zeus sniffed curiously at the grass, momentarily distracting me from the existential whirlwind that raged within. I ruffled his fur, grateful for his unwavering companionship. Just then, Mrs. Eldridge's voice cut through the thick air, her warm presence a reminder that life continued outside the walls of my turmoil. Would you like to join me for tea? She offered, her eyes crinkling with genuine kindness. It's been a while since we had a good chat. The thought of stepping away from the shadows momentarily sparked a flicker of hope within me, and I nodded. Sure, I'd like that. As we crossed her yard towards the porch, the colorful blooms gathering dust from summer looked more vibrant, almost beckoning me closer to some semblance of joy. Moments later, I settled into her wicker chair, its familiar creaks a reminder of countless chats held here before. Mrs. Eldridge poured steaming tea into delicate china cups. I must say, it's a breath of fresh air to see you out and about. I know things have been tough for you. Her eyes held a profound understanding, sensing layers of pain beneath my silence that I took a sip, the warmth spreading through me and comforting my tight throat. I'm trying, I said quietly, each word a fragile truth. The urge to confide in her rose again. My heart felt heavy with secrets, but I held back. Instead, I asked about her garden and laughed at how her daisies became unruly while she battled with her neighbors over their hedges. Yet, no matter how the evening unfolded, flowers and laughter mingling with tea, the knot in my stomach grew tighter. I knew I couldn't escape my reality forever. Nathan's revelations loomed like thunderclouds on the horizon, ready to crash against the fragile facade of normalcy I was trying to erect. As dusk began to descend, the rich hues of twilight created an enchanting backdrop, yet dread intertwined with its beauty. I felt the message from Nathan gnawing at the edges of my mind, a relentless whisper urging me to reveal the truth layered beneath the surface. What truth was he speaking of? Was it related to my inheritance, or secrets that would darken my already complicated relationship with my father? Are you all right, dear? Mrs. Eldridge's voice broke through the haze as she touched my arm gently. Yeah, just a lot on my mind, I admitted, my guard briefly lowered in the warmth of her presence. Family stuff, she nodded knowingly. In times of grief, it often feels as if everything we know starts to unravel. But always remember, you're not alone. Sometimes sharing can help lighten the load. Gratitude washed over me, but even as I absorbed her kindness, something twisted painfully inside. My secrets felt like boulders, I couldn't expose them without some fracturing pain radiating outward. Thank you for saying that, I replied, fighting against the surge of heaviness in my heart. As night finally fell, the stars began to peek through the darkness, glimmering like faint beacons of hope. Zeus' head rested on my lap, and part of me wanted to cling to this sliver of calm for as long as possible. Yet another part it clawed at me with restless urgency. Just as I was debating whether to finally face Nathan, my phone vibrated once more. A weighty moment of stillness fell, and I could feel Mrs. Eldridge's gaze upon me, no judgment, only concern. The message opened like a digital door to something I feared to face. Please. You have to meet me tonight. It's about your mother and the real reason she kept the inheritance a secret. You deserve to know, whether you're ready or not. My breath caught painfully in my throat. The invitation felt like a dark invitation. And panic quivered inside me. My heart raced as my thoughts darted toward the implications of what I might learn. My mother's past could lead me to truths that would rip apart the very fabric of what I thought I understood about her, and perhaps about myself and my father. That I scrolled through my contacts, considering calling Nathan asking him for clarity, but the tremor in my hand made it impossible to steady the device. Instead, my resolve crumbled. "Mrs. Eldridge, I go ahead, dear." Her soothing voice beckoned me to share, and for a fragile moment, I allowed the floodgates to crack. "It's just. I'm caught in a family dilemma, and I don't know if I want to know what's on the other side." Her wise gaze met mine, urging me to be brave. "Sometimes, the truth, however painful, can set us free. Remember, you have people who care for you. Even when it's hard, you're never alone." Tears welled in my eyes, her compassion enhancing the weight I felt in the pit of my stomach. I closed my eyes, the clarity of the night sky seeping in through my sorrow. I stood up abruptly, words spilling out before I could cage my thoughts. "I have to go. There's something I need to confront." Mrs. Eldridge's eyes widened but softened. "Then go, darling. Be brave." As I walked back home, the air was almost electric, charged with possibilities both terrifying and hopeful. I stepped inside, heart racing, eyes drawn to my phone as if it contained the answers I desperately sought. Just as I was about to dial Nathan, I heard a knock on the door. My breath caught. Who could it be at this hour? As I opened it, dread twisted in my stomach. My father stood on the other side, a shadowed figure against the dim glow of the porch light, his expression inscrutable. "What are you doing here?" I managed, the weight of my unspoken truths threatening to tumble out like marble set free from a jar. His gaze flickered with something unreadable. Was it sorrow? Fear? "We need to talk." The silence stretched, the air thick with tension and unresolved mysteries. Without a word, I stepped back, inviting him inside. As we entered the living room, caught between a world of loss and secrets, I realized this was just the beginning. Each word exchanged between us would slice through the silence of what was, forging a path toward revelations that had long been buried. And as the door slowly shut behind him, I could feel the trajectory of my life shifting beneath me, robbing me of breath, drawing me closer to answers steeped in shadows and perhaps, more secrets yet to uncover. The weight of my father's presence hung in the air, thick and suffocating, laden with unsaid things. I took a tentative seat on the couch, and he followed suit, his posture rigid, as if coaxing courage from the very fabric of the cushions beneath him. "I'm not here for a fight," he began, his voice low, hesitant. "I just want to explain everything." The pain in his tone grated against me, an unwelcome reminder that my own hurt mirrored his. Even in this moment of potential clarity, a chasm of decades' worth of silence stood between us like an unyielding barrier. "What is there to explain?" I asked, the bitterness tainting my words against the sorrow that encroached upon me. "You pushed her away until the end. You never supported her, never trusted her. How can you expect me to believe you care now?" He flinched at my words, and for a brief moment, I almost regretted the harshness. Almost. But the reality lingered. It wasn't just about my mother anymore, it was about the tapestry of lies and hidden truths that had bound us together while simultaneously tearing us apart. "I understand what you're feeling," he said, an edge of desperation creeping into his voice. "But if you let me explain my side, I think you'll see." "See what?" I demanded, my heart thrumming with a painful blend of anger and curiosity. "How you distanced yourself every time she tried to talk to you. Or how you never believed in her dreams, leaving her alone in her struggles. Please, just hear me out," he insisted, his hands gripping his knees as if they anchored him against the storm brewing in my heart. "Your mother, she was stronger than I gave her credit for. We had our problems, ones I regret not addressing. But she didn't tell you everything either. Not about the inheritance. Not about the choices she made." His voice trembled, and I could see the lines of age and regret marking his face, deepening shadows across his features. "Then tell me the truth. What choices?" The longing for clarity eclipsed the flame of anger sparking in my chest. If he was finally ready to share, Perhaps he had valuable pieces of information that would shed light on Nathan's ominous messages. That he hesitated, his brow furrowing deeply, as if weighing each word carefully. Your mother, she didn't want the inheritance to define you. She feared it would change who you were, take you away from the values she instilled. She wanted to protect you. Protect me from what? The truth? My heart pounded. Or from her own mistakes. I wanted to protect her, he replied, voice thick, the shared tension palpable. We met in a different time, different circumstances. My world didn't accept her the way she was. I thought if I tried harder, if I pushed less, we could find a way back to where we started. But I failed her. I failed both of you. His admission struck me deep. It emerged between the cracks where anger had festered, leaving room for something surprising, a glimmer of understanding. Maybe I wasn't alone in this void we both felt. Maybe I wasn't the only one mourning her absence, carried not just by love but guilt, confusion, and regret. I don't know if we can ever go back, I finally whispered as the weight of our collective grief settled around us. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with this inheritance or the secrets surrounding it. With a heavy sigh, he leaned forward, a spark of urgency igniting in his eyes. That's why I'm here. I think it's crucial you meet Nathan. We can't keep her promises without understanding what she wanted for you. You have to know the truth about her past before it pulls us under. The thought filled me with a conflicting mixture of dread and anticipation. My fingers trembled as I pictured Nathan's message replaying in my mind. Clarity lay somewhere in that dark invitation, urging me to confront the hidden corners of my mother's world, but even as I felt a flicker of hope, darkness gnawed at the edges of my resolve. If I meet him, I muttered, barely able to voice the thought, what if I discover something that changes everything? His expression softened, almost imploring. Then you will lean on me, and we will face it together. Just like she would have wanted. For an instant, I felt the tiniest tug of unity, a fragile thread reaching across years of silence and misunderstanding. But the sudden sound of my phone buzzing on the table broke the moment, a harsh reminder that answers awaited, and they wouldn't wait for me to gather my thoughts or my courage. With shaking hands, I picked it up. One glance at the screen, and my heart plummeted. Another message from Nathan, more ominous than the last. Please. It's urgent. There's someone else you need to be aware of. Something bigger is at stake. The walls of my world constricted around me, panic clawing up my throat. What else could there be? I exclaimed, a rush of frustration spilling through my voice. That I don't know, but there's a hidden part of the inheritance, something significant. His expression mirrored mine, confusion and fear, the realization of spiraling deeper into this labyrinth of family secrets. That I can't do this, I said helplessly, feeling the heat rise in my chest. But my father reached over, his hand covering mine, grounding me, his presence a tether amidst the chaos. Together, he said softly. We'll figure this out together. And as I looked into his eyes, searching for some sign of understanding that might bind us again, the shadows deepened around us. There was no turning back now. I had to decide, press forward into the unknown with both my father and Nathan, or risk losing everything, including a chance at truth and healing. And just like that, the night thickened, each choice echoing in the chamber of my heart, as new layers of this unfolding journey loomed ominously ahead, whispering secrets yet to unfold. The next day dawned gray and heavy, clouds hanging low as if they too bore the weight of grief. I found myself restless, wandering through my mother's house, each room echoing memories that swirled like leaves caught in a tempest. The air felt stale, charged with the whispers of the past, urging me to confront the future. My mind was a whirlpool, each thought dragging me deeper into uncertainty. Nathan's message had awakened a storm within me, one that clashed against the fragile truce I had struck with my father the night before. Together those laced words haunted me, as if somehow promising the hope of healing, yet also threatening the very fabric of my reality. I drank my coffee too quickly, the bitterness spreading down my throat like the tension swirling inside me. I needed to know what Nathan was talking about, this hidden part of the inheritance. It dawned on me I had to face him. Before I could lose my nerve, I texted him back, proposing a meeting time. What happened? My father asked, appearing in the doorway, interrupting my spiraling thoughts. His voice had softened since our conversation, yet the tension of our shared past loomed large in the space between us that I am meeting Nathan, I answered, forcing my voice to remain steady. His brows knitted together, concern evident in his eyes. "You're sure about this?" "I have to be," I replied, the weight of the moment sinking in. I had to understand the truth about my mother, the inheritance, and whatever it was that Nathan wanted to reveal. My father stepped forward, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Be careful. If there's more to this inheritance, it may not just be finance, it could be something dangerous." I nodded, though apprehension fluttered in my stomach. He was right, all this could entail threats I had yet to comprehend. After several hours that seemed to crawl by, I found myself outside the small cafe where Nathan had suggested we meet. The air was thick with the scent of coffee and pastries, but it felt stifling rather than comforting. I glanced at my watch, anxiety knotting my stomach further as the minutes dragged on. When he finally arrived, Nathan looked weary yet determined, the lines of concern etched deep into his features. Without exchanging pleasantries, he gestured for me to follow him outside, where the air felt cooler, releasing some of the pressure building within. "I didn't want to talk at the cafe," Nathan said, glancing around as if to ensure we weren't being overheard. "You deserve to know the truth about your mother and about the inheritance." That I felt a prickle of fear at the seriousness of his tone. "What are we talking about? The money? Or something else?" "Both. But there's more." He hesitated, running a hand through his hair in distress. "Your mother wasn't just leaving you a fortune, she was trying to keep you safe." The way he said it sent shivers down my spine. "Safe from what?" "There's a connection to your mother's past that has implications you can't begin to imagine. Some people believe access to that wealth means access to power, and there are those who will do anything to control that. My heart raced as my mind reeled with the implications. Control? You're saying there's danger?" "Yes," he said, his eyes dark. "And it's inescapable if you ignore it. Your mother feared what could happen if you inherited it without knowing the whole truth, the truth about her family, her legacy. There's a reason she kept it hidden." His words sunk deep into my heart, a revelation like a heavy stone thrown into still water, rippling outward. "What do you mean, her family? What does it have to do with me?" Nathan took a deep breath, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. "Your mother came from a lineage that possessed more than just wealth. They held secrets. Secrets that could put you at risk. I think she tried to shield you from that world." And now he paused, fear flickering across his features. "Now it's like that world has awakened." That I could hardly process what he said, a cacophony of disbelief and dread coursed through me. "Awakened how?" "After the funeral, I reached out to some contacts. I didn't realize just how serious it was until I saw the people watching your mother's house. This is bigger than your inheritance. This is about legacy and control." That I felt dizzy as the weight of his words crashed over me. "Do you think they want the inheritance?" "What they want is more serious than that," Nathan averred, his gaze heavy with meaning. "They want to silence anyone connected to her, including you. If they find out you have even the slightest connection." Panic surged, my breath quickening. "What do I do? I can't be a target." Nathan stepped closer, the urgency in his eyes matching the racing pulse in my ears. "We need to take action. This isn't just about reclaiming what is yours, it's about uncovering the truth of your mother's past to level the playing field." Just as he finished, a black sedan rolled slowly past, its tinted windows obscuring the occupants within. My heart stopped as a sense of foreboding washed over me. Nathan noticed my pallor, his expression shifting into something more protective. "We can't stay here," he said urgently, grabbing my wrist. "We have to move. They're already closer than you think." As we hurried away, doubt gnawed at me. "Is it worth it to confront these shadows? To seek the truth about my mother, knowing it may expose us to danger?" Yet somewhere in the turmoil, a flicker ignited within. I would not allow fear to dictate my life. With Nathan at my side, we raced into the unknown, both unsure of what lay ahead, but bound by the need to uncover the truth. Each step forward pulled us deeper into the labyrinthine twists of my mother's life and the realization that I could not escape her legacy, no matter how hard I tried. But amid the chaos, one thought echoed loudly in my mind: what if uncovering her truth only led to more darkness? What if the enemies lurking in the shadows were already one step closer than I dared to imagine? The air felt electric as Nathan and I picked up our pace, weaving through the crowded streets. Adrenaline surged beneath my skin, propelling us forward, yet my mind was a storm of confusion and fear. Footfalls echoed behind us, filling the moments of silence with an ominous reminder that we were not alone. Where do we go? I gasped, feeling Nathan's grip tighten around my wrist. It was oddly reassuring. They're tracking you, so we should head to my place. It's safe, for now. Nathan's face was set in a grim line, his eyes scanning the bustling city for threats as if danger could materialize from the crowd. The journey felt too short, anxiety bubbling over until it manifested in the form of biting questions. Shouldn't we contact the police? Report what we learned? His jaw clenched. The police may not believe you. There are more powerful players involved here, and they operate in shadows. We have to be cautious. Finally, we reached his apartment, a modest place, cluttered with books, half-finished projects, and a lingering scent of home-cooked meals. The moment Nathan closed the door behind us, an inexplicable sense of safety washed over me, though the air felt charged with unspoken fears. That he guided me to the small kitchen where a worn-out wooden table stood, and gestured for me to sit. You need to tell me everything you know about your mother, every little detail. It might lead us to understand what she was hiding and what kind of threats we're dealing with. I hesitated, my heart heavy. I don't even know where to begin. She was always so private, and I never understood why my voice trembled, each word laced with sorrow. I didn't know there was anything to uncover. If only I had pressed her for answers, perhaps she'd still be here. Nathan's gaze softened, the sharp edges of urgency replaced with something gentler, a flicker of empathy that made me feel seen. It's not your fault. She wanted to protect you. There's a reason she chose silence. Protect me from what? A family secret? A legacy that now feels like a betrayal? I could feel hot tears forming, tinged with a mixture of fear and frustration. What am I supposed to do with this legacy if it puts me directly in the crosshairs of danger? His tone was firm yet soothing. Discovering the truth may also free you, give you the chance to reclaim your life from the grips of this fear. And it may provide us the leverage to fight back. But as I searched his eyes for reassurance, the shadows of doubt returned, wrapping around me like a shroud. What if uncovering her truth leads to more danger? Were all those years of silence meant to shield me or to chain me? Before he could respond, the tension in the air shifted, a sudden sound breaking through the unease. I could barely make out a soft, distinct knock at the door, so deceptively polite yet filled with threat. Nathan's expression instantly darkened. He moved toward the entrance, signaling for me to stay low and silent. Who is it? He asked through the door, tension barely masking his voice. It's just me, Nathan. Open up, a firm voice called from the other side, a voice I recognized but hadn't heard in years. Nico? I whispered in disbelief, my heart racing. What was my father's brother doing here? Nathan, let me in. I know you have her. Nico urged again, impatience palpable in his tone. Against my better judgment, curiosity got the better of me. It's my uncle, I told Nathan, who looked torn. His eyes flickered between the closed door and my pleading expression. Nico might be in danger too, he whispered back, still unsure. I need to hear what he has to say. Maybe he knows more about my mother's past, I insisted, my own needs battling against the danger he posed. He hesitated, and a moment later, he opened the door just enough for Nico to slip inside. Quick! He urged, scanning the apartment. We don't have much time. What's going on? Nathan asked, worry pressing into his features as he closed the door behind my uncle. Nico's eyes fell on me, and there was an earnestness in his expression that confused me. You don't know everything, and we need to talk before it's too late. This isn't just about your inheritance, it's about your safety and the legacy your mother was trying to protect you from. Before I could respond, a loud crash echoed from outside, followed by shouts. Nathan and Nico exchanged looks of alarm, and I felt panic clawing at my throat. What's happening? My voice came out strangled. We're out of time. "They're here," Nathan breathed, urgency flooding his tone. "What do you mean they're here? Who are you talking about?" But before either could answer, the front door burst open, and a figure clad in dark clothes stormed into the apartment, scanning the room like a predator locking onto its prey. I gasped, frozen in shock as we were enveloped in the very darkness we had tried to escape. I grasped desperately for hope as my heart thundered in my chest, the realization dawning that the past had finally caught up with me. But no matter how impossible it seemed, I couldn't turn away from the truth any longer. I had to confront it. What legacy awaited me on the other side, and would I survive to uncover it? The cold air rushed in as the intruder's silhouette loomed over us, the darkness poised like a predator, ready to strike. My breath hitched, the weight of uncertainty crashing down upon me, as dread snaked its way through my veins. Nathan stepped forward, his stature growing larger in the face of danger, and I could see the protective fire igniting in his eyes. "Get back, Sarah," he commanded, his voice a mix of authority and urgency. In that moment, I felt a stirring of defiance. I had spent too long being swept along in currents of others' choicest my mother's secrets, my father's silence, and now this intrusion into my life. I stepped closer to Nathan, grounding myself beside him, refusing to be relegated to the role of a frightened observer any longer. "Who the hell are you?" Nathan challenged, lifting his chin defiantly towards the intruder. I watched the intruder closely, and as they shifted in the sparse light of the apartment, I caught a glimpse of their face, a familiar snarl that dripped with confidence. My heart sank lower as recognition hit me. It was Claire, a distant relative whose eyes were as icy as the whispers surrounding our family. "They're looking for you, Sarah," she spat, her voice dripping with contempt. "There's no point in hiding. You didn't think you could just disappear, did you?" Nico shifted uneasily, stepping between Claire and us, his expression fierce. "You need to leave, Claire. This isn't what you think. You don't know what you're dealing with." A cold laugh escaped her lips, echoing in the chaos. "Oh, but you see, I think precisely what I'm dealing with. A cowardly family who seeks to hide in shadows, all while trying to rope in their legacy until it inevitably falls apart." "What legacy?" My voice was steadier than I felt, and I could sense Nathan's lingering tension beside me. "What are you talking about?" Claire took a step closer, the scent of danger wafting off her like a perfume I detested. "Your mother was a fool to think she could keep it buried. All her secrets, her fortune, they belong to the family. And you," she pointed a manicured finger at me, "the last piece of this puzzle. Sooner or later, you'll have to choose between saving yourself or embracing the nightmare she tried to shield you from." My chest tightened. Did I truly have that choice? Acceptance of our family's darkness, or that glimmer of a new life Nathan had talked about? Before I could respond, a sudden commotion erupted in the hallway, drowning out our tension. Footsteps thundered as doors swung open, and voices rose in alarm. "Claire, we need to go. They're here." A voice shouted from outside, panic lacing their words. "You've brought them right to us." Nico snapped, pure frustration flooding his tone. However, Claire's face was painted with a twisted thrill as realization flickered in her expression. "Oh, how lovely. A family reunion we didn't see coming. Get ready, sweetheart," she sneered at me, stepping back into the shadows as the echoing footsteps grew louder. Nathan grabbed my arm, urgency igniting his grip. "We need an exit, now." Just as Nathan pulled me towards the kitchen doorway, I felt a jolt of hope, a memory flashing back of games we once played as children, running through the apartment's labyrinth of hidden doors. "The fire escape!" I exclaimed, my heart racing in hopes of survival. Nathan nodded, determination etched in his features, as we guided Nico through the narrow passage. Before we could slip outside, the doorway shuddered violently, hands pounding against the wall as voices grew nearer, footsteps cascaded down the hall, and the air filled with dread. We raced towards the fire escape, our breaths mingling with urgency as adrenaline pushed us forward. The narrow stairwell loomed ahead, the rusty metal creaking as we ascended quickly. I glanced back, seeing the shadow of Claire emerge just as a shout erupted behind us. "They can't escape. They're trapped, faster!" Nathan urged, propelling me upward. But as we reached the roof and pushed out into the night air, the city sprawled before us like a lost paradise, still fractured with uncertainty. What do we do now? I gasped, the horizon painting a cacophony of possibility as fear and longing battled within me. Trust me. We can figure it out, Nathan replied, his intensity a bright spark against the darkness that lingered just beyond the edge of the rooftop. And yet, even in this moment of escape, a gnawing suspicion nestled deep within me. Was I truly free, or was this just the beginning of the storm? But before I could voice my thoughts, the street below exploded with sirens and flashing lights, chaos unfurling like a canvas soaked in fear. Something's gone wrong, Nico's voice quivered. This isn't just about your mother's legacy anymore, it's much bigger than we realized. And as those words hung heavy in the rapidly cooling air, a terrifying realization settled within me. The entanglement of secrets was deeper than I had known, and in our flight from danger, the true fight for my life had only just begun. The wind cut sharply across the rooftop as we stood there, hearts racing and breaths wavering between desperation and determination. Nathan leaned closer, looking out over the city sprawled beneath us, his worry mingling with the urgency that pulsed in the air. We need to keep moving, he urged, glancing at the sounds of chaos brewing below us. The cacophony of sirens and shouts churned in my stomach, anxiety tightening its grip on my heart. They're already looking for us. They'll catch on quickly. What do we do? I stammered, casting a fearful glance at the gap between the roofs, realizing how little time we had left to escape the underground trap that today's events had sprung into action. My hands trembled, my voice trembled. Everything felt so uncertain, like a landscape where shadows flickered and twisted with every fleeting breath. Trust me, Nathan said, steel coating his tone. We'll make it to the next building, but we have to leap together. Don't hesitate. I swallowed hard, heart pounding as I weighed the distance between us and the adjacent building. It loomed like a fortress against the cascading dark sky, a realm I felt both drawn to and terrified of. I'm scared, I admitted, the tears brimming in my eyes as the weight of everything pressed against my chest. What if we fall? What if we can't make it? Then we'll take that risk together, he replied, his grip firm on my forearm, grounding my swirling fears. And though I hesitated, uncertainty clawed at me, I recognized something fundamental in him, a partnership forged in the flames of our shared entanglements. You're not alone in this, he implored softly, gathering his strength as he stepped closer to the edge, preparing to lead me. A moment of stillness enveloped us. As I stood at the precipice, my heart raced, entangled with the realization that everything we kept hidden, the inheritance, the secrets, the very core of who I was no longer just mine to hold. This leap symbolized the collective weight of my family's past, the shadows that clung to our name, and the fierce fight for my own truth. It all came roaring to the surface like a tempest. We took a deep breath in unison, eyes locked, and propelled ourselves forward into the abyss between the two buildings. For a heartbeat, it felt like flying, and in that fleeting moment, I embraced the exhilaration of choice mingled with the fear of the unknown. And then we landed a jarring thud against the rooftop, stumbling to regain our balance, determination fueling our movements as we rolled into safety. As we caught our breath, the echo of footsteps could be heard resonating on the stairs below us, urgency transforming into a dark promise that breathed down our necks. They're coming! Nico shouted, adrenaline pulsing through his veins. Stick close! Nathan urged, hastily searching for a way down the other side of the building, his gaze scanning the path ahead. If we can get to the alleyway, we can hide. A surge of hope coursed through me, we were still moving, still fighting against the darkness trailing us. The adrenaline coursed through me, propelling me forward. I ran behind Nathan, heart racing, weaving through shadows as danger simmered behind us. We rounded corners like ghosts, ducking and dodging as we sprinted through the back alleys, desperately seeking cover and solace in the rusted refuse of the cityscape. Here. Through here. Nathan led us into a narrow space between two buildings, the scent of damp concrete and forgotten memories lingering in the air. We huddled together, catching our breath, the shadows of our lives converging in that moment. Do you think we lost them? I asked, fear still tight in my throat. I don't know, he replied, brow creased with concern as he peered out carefully to check for movement. But we can't stay here long. They were watching you, Sarah. Claire knew where to find us. What does she want? I asked, anguish swirling with confusion. A craving for clarity consumed me. Why would she risk everything? She's a part of this too, Nico interjected, sweat dripping from his brow. The family wouldn't let anything threaten their hold on the inheritance. Her connection to your mother runs deeper than you think. The weight of his words settled heavy in the humid air, chasing pieces of the puzzle into sharper focus. Suddenly, the fear of being hunted morphed into determination. We have to confront them, I whispered, the thread of courage twining through me. I can't live in the shadow of my mother's secrets anymore. The determination in my voice caught Nathan's attention. I could see the spark ignite in his eyes. You're right. We can't be passive players in this game anymore. We have to take control. Then we find Claire, I said firmly, steeling myself against the darkness that lay ahead. We need to know what she's hiding, what truly connects us all. But as my words hung in the air, a chilling thought gripped me, intertwining with the fear already entwined in my spirit. What if the answers I sought led deeper into a web of deceit? It was one thing to reclaim my family's narrative, it was another to dive into a darkness that could entrap me forever. The next step is crucial, Nathan said, his voice steady but low. We need to figure out how to confront Claire safely. If she's involved in something deeper, we need to be careful. Before I could respond, movement stirred in the shadows. I froze, my heart racing as I caught a glimpse of dark figures emerging from the alleyway. Panic rose sharply in my chest. Nathan! I gasped, the fear coloring my voice. Stay hidden. He ordered as he urged us to press against the wall, heartbeats overlapping in the tense silence. The figures drew closer, their voices a dangerous symphony of expectation. We know you're in here. A rough voice echoed, heightening the stakes as the footsteps grew louder. A surge of panic propelled me forward, and without thinking, I grabbed Nathan's arm and pulled him deeper into the shadows. We can't get caught. Don't panic, he whispered firmly, grounding me once more. We're in this together. Well, wait for the right moment. With the figures nearing, Nathan's breath steadied as he surveyed the lurking shapes through the cracks in between the wall. Okay, it's time. Hold on. Both of us squeezed together in the narrow space until the shadows moved past, the dark silhouettes disappearing into the night. The stillness wrapped around us, leaving only the sound of our frantic breaths. Go. Now. He gestured, moving towards what appeared to be a fire escape on the other side of the alley. I followed closely, adrenaline thrumming along with the sound of our footsteps echoing through the dim silence. As we clambered down, my heart raced, thrumming with the prospect of confrontation. But as we reached the ground, I glanced back at the alley. Beads of adrenaline swept through me, magnifying the stakes. My fingers tightened on Nathan's arm as a possibility swept through my mind, one filled with either doom or discovery. Are you ready for this? He asked, the sincerity in his eyes grounding me as we stood outside in the faint glow of streetlights. No, I replied honestly, my stomach roiling at the impending confrontation. Yet, as the magnitude of the moment crashed upon me, I felt a stirring within, a defiance fueled by anguish over the secrets long chained around my family's identity. But I have to be. Together, we stepped into the night, threading our way back through the streets packed with potential threats, our eyes set on an impending confrontation filled with the promise of answers, clarity, and an unseen legacy waiting to be claimed. With an electric tension in the air, I felt the pieces of my mother's story pull me forward, uncertainty swirling around us as the path became clearer, a path that led straight to Claire. And as we faced this crucible, forging a fragile unity that thrummed with an unusual strength, my heart began to whisper what my mind struggled to comprehend. Only in facing the shadows could I finally reclaim the light that wove through my mother's existence. And as the future flickered in the distance, I knew I wouldn't face it alone. Even in the grips of darkness, hope emerged like the first light of dawn, a promise that no secret would bury the truth waiting to be uncovered. The legacy that had chained us, ensnared in fear and silence, would no longer bind me. I took a step closer to freedom, a step closer to reclaiming what was mine. I would no longer be defined by my mother's shadows. Come what may, it was time to finally pierce through the darkness.